This is Let's Talk Business with your hosts, Mark Ebinger and Heather Bain. Now, here's Mark.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business, a show that talks entrepreneurship with some of the best businesses in the San Antonio area. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk with Elaine and Isaac Castillo, the owners of Freedom Fun here in San Antonio.
Yeah,
Isaac, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good
Elaine.
Thank you for having us.
In studio with us today is Heather Bain, a certified business coach that works with business owners to gain clarity in business and achieve their goals. So Heather, welcome back to the show as always.
Always glad to be here.
And I'm your host, Mark Ebinger, the owner of Crewcus Marketing Agency, a company that specializes in giving small businesses a competitive edge by hiring administrative and social media experts from the Philippines, which is how I run my whole organization. Mm-hmm. We're up to like 23 employees now, so we're growing pretty fast.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. So a quick reminder for our listeners, you can catch video and podcast versions of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. And if you are a business owner in the San Antonio area, or maybe you just want to drive from Austin or wherever else and come and be on our show, you can call our office at 210-960-8210. That's 210-960-8210, and just ask to be a guest on the show. So today we've got a family entrepreneurship happening here, which is kind of cool. I kind of force my wife into it a bit. So I'm curious to see how you guys work this out so who started the whole idea of family entrepreneurship? Was it Isaac?
Would be Isaac.
It was it would be me. Yeah.
Okay, so I
forced my wife too,
Yeah. You really got me out of my comfort zone.
I've heard that so many times, that same statement.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? Give me a quick, we got like 2 or 3 minutes we'll spend on this topic, but how did you start that whole thing?
So I've done web development and programming since my first line of code was probably in 2004. So I've always hustled on the side whenever I held full-time jobs. Left my job, or actually they had cutbacks back in 2007. Was self-employed from 2007 to 2009. Went back working because economy, that whole 2009 economy stuff that happened. So I went back to work. Got the itch again around 2016. At that time, my wife was, doing an MLM that she was doing. She picked up a lot of social media experience. So when she left that or stopped doing that, I was like, well, I have web development clients. They need social media. So I kind of started selling her services and kind of pushing her to do that. So I got her 1, 2, I think we were up to like 4 or 5 clients. And then I was like, babe, do you want more? And she was like, no, I don't know that I could handle anymore. At that same time, I was trying to figure out what we were going to do, like if she wanted to do something else. And I grabbed weekly, before COVID, I would grab cigars with a buddy of mine. He's a business owner, business entrepreneur, and he does consulting. So he consulted with a franchise in Austin that were just starting out. They wanted their first franchisee to be in San Antonio. And it was kind of like, hey, you're able to bootstrap it, since this is kind of like we're testing the waters. I think I went back to my wife, and I can't remember her exact phrase, but
laughed.
It was she
probably
laughed.
said, hell no.
Like, seriously, I'm not going to be running events like that.
Yeah.
What time?
So that was the whole response. And then I kind of pushed on, and it kind of like just was dropping like little hints here and there. And
how long did that take?
That whole process
to get her on board.
Was probably a couple months, I would say.
Okay, that's not bad.
Yeah, because weekly I would meet with this guy, and then I would come back with more information, and then I would meet with the guy and come back with more information. And
I think we learned we have to slow cook our wives into the idea,
well,
right?
I was going to ask on the other end, what was the final straw that broke the camel's back and made you say yes?
I think when just, conversations going back and forth, selling it to a family, not just, it's not going to just be me doing all this work. It's going to be, we had our oldest now, he's an adult, and then our second son, he's getting ready to be an adult. So at that time, they were, I think, like 14, 15 years old at the time. So that, that would be really great for them to run these events. It'd be a great experience for them. So that, I think, ultimately was like, okay, I think if we would have our family meetings too, just kind of, going back and forth with different ideas. And so I, seeing the excitement on my boys' faces, I was like, okay, I think we can do this. So then we moved forward, and then we went
had
to
our first
meet.
meeting. Yeah, we had a first meeting with the franchisor in Austin, and
Well, before you get to that,
Yeah.
how did you feel when she finally said yes?
I'm a risk taker. Yeah, and I mean, to the point of like, oh my gosh, this was bad. This was bad, but I'd rather make a mistake than.
Was it validation of your idea when
It was,
because I know that feeling too.
Yeah. It was one of those things where it was like once she was on board, I was like, oh, okay. I got pepped up because, I do what I do. My stuff is, I do web development. That's like highly skilled. I'm kind of tied to the work. The work's kind of tied to me, but I wanted to find something that was like, oh, okay, this is manageable by other people and not just us.
Oh, leverage. One of my favorite words.
Yeah. Yeah. So when she was on board, that was awesome. When the kids were on board, that was awesome. And naturally our house becomes the house where all the teenagers come over to eat. So all of our kids' friends come over and I just cook up for them. So a lot of them naturally became our coaches or our employees.
Yeah,
good.
so
yeah.
that was really
Personnel.
nice
From
because
within.
we didn't really have to go looking for, coaches to run these events. They really were like, I want to know what y'all are doing, So, we would bring out laser tag just to test the waters, see, they'd
The
have a
funnest
blast.
house on the
fun
block.
first. Yeah.
Like,
that'll
hey,
help.
how do you feel about working and doing this, So it was naturally like it just came together.
And since then, I mean, you obviously had your web development company, and then you bought into this franchise, and now you're up to how many businesses? 4?
4 businesses.
Four.
Yeah. And my son has his own business, so I don't count that as like I don't run anything on that one. So
So would
Yeah,
you say
so-
kind of like expanding and scaling and growing businesses is a little addicting for you guys?
it is.
How do you
It-
keep
it-
up with it though? That's a big question.
That is the
So
question.
Yeah, I mean
I'm sensing a little over here, a disturbance in the force.
so Elaine's primary, so when we first started, it was we both did Freedom Fund stuff, and I helped with a lot of events, and then slowly but surely I'm starting to pull back, and Elaine fully runs that. She has an admin now that helps with calls
Nice.
that we text before we came over here and said, hey, we're not available from this time to this time. Answer the phones, and then the other business was a laundromat. Before the laundromat, it was going to be something else, another franchise. But the laundromat we purchased, I moved down there. Since my business is kind of mobile, and I did Zoom meetings, I did Zoom calls, I programmed at night. And during the day, I was fixing machines and calling support and getting stuff running and getting ready for opening. So I probably lived down there for about a month and a half. Yeah, then at my parents' house, and then got my parents to run it, and that's kind of like their retirement. Hey, y'all run your own schedule because they, my both blue collar workers. My mom, was housekeeping all her life. My dad was in maintenance all his life. Not very good jobs. He's pushing close to, I think it was 67, 68. No, 68. We bought him the wrong candles, I remember. And so they have them outside cutting yards in this heat. And I'm like, man, you don't need to be doing that. So, this was kind of like a hope, help them kind of retire-ish, but they're still kind of working, and he can tinker with machines. The fourth one, that one's more so like, I guess I try to just break my time apart. It's digital ad displays. So like it's usually 1 week I'm kind of focusing on that and then doing some, coding and programming at night. And then the next week it's vice versa. I'm just strictly Echo. And then after this, we're going to go grab lunch, and I'm headed down to Corpus because I got machines that are down that I need to help my dad with, but I'm taking my work with me. So, I think that's kind of how I handle it.
What's the biggest business of the ones you guys are involved in? Is it the Freedom Fund?
I say
Fund Freedom?
it is. It's the most probably the one that has more undertaking.
Yes.
A little bit more overhead because we got more staff to deal with.
Right.
We're how many coaches do we have?
13.
Yeah,
Yeah,
13
13
coaches.
coaches.
So there's scheduling. There's
Payroll, there's details for the events, there's
she was on the phone renting a trailer that we need for another event, so that way our guys can just roll up stuff, the heavy equipment onto the trailer, and so yeah, Elaine pretty much primarily just does that with the help of the guys and her admin.
So, and you've been doing it how long now? The Freedom Fund?
Since 2019. So
Fall of 2019.
yeah, right before COVID.
Right before
Right
COVID.
before
Yeah,
the
that was
lighting
interesting.
changed.
So, how do you guys stand out? Obviously, these are like outdoor event kind of things going on. What do you guys focus on to make this thing like a really cool experience for your customers?
So with Freedom Fun, we offer 3 options. There's different packages for different budgets. So, not a lot of companies do that. So one option would be warehouse pickup, where, it's the least inexpensive package. Customer comes to our location, picks up the equipment. We'll show them how to operate everything. They go with written material, with videos, just in case they need to reference, once they get back to their event. Then they can return it the next day. The second option would be delivery. That's where, we'll have a coach. They'll go deliver it. They'll make sure to set everything up for the customer, show them how to operate it again, and then pick it up when either the event is over or the next day, so whatever the customer prefers. The last option would be concierge, where they request a coach out there, not only to set it up, but to remain there, run the matches, run the activities. And then once the event is over, they can pack up and leave. So it's literally, the customer doesn't have to lift a finger. Our guys do everything.
What type of event are people choosing? Which of those 3? Like, are they choosing to pick up and drop off themselves? I mean, which package are they choosing
I feel
the
like
most?
there's honestly a big mix, right?
It's all over the spectrum.
I wouldn't say there's
people
one
who
or
want
the
to
other.
save money, they're the ones who want to come pick it up and
Yeah.
test run, set up themselves.
Yeah,
kinda
I
deal.
see they're equally distributed across the board.
And some people who don't want to mess with it, just like, I want you to set it up and break it down.
What's your most popular activity?
The most popular activity, at least for right now, because of the heat, has either been outdoor movie screens or foam parties. So, it's a little later in the evening, or they do a foam party super early. So before, where we'd be setting up maybe like the afternoon, you can drop it off at 9 o'clock, in the morning. So the foam parties, those are a lot of fun. We work with a lot of churches, schools, HOAs, backyard birthday parties, just company parties, things like that. So, but yeah.
So customer service was an area that you said you guys really focus on, making sure that it's really a personal, high-level experience from start to finish. Talk about that.
Right. So we get a lot of positive feedback from our customers regarding our customer service because, there's so many times that we hear, we'll get a call almost weekly saying, hey, we're in a panic mode. We were booked with this company, but they called to cancel. We just don't do that unless it's like, weather related where, hey, let's think of something else. Can we move it indoors? Things like that. We work with our customers to reschedule anything should that be a factor. We don't just drop the ball and say, oh, well, you lost your money. We don't like to be that person. We're not that company to do that. So we will follow through with all the details. One of the things that, once we talk to the customer, the sale goes through, we're there from, we're going to be contacting them in between up until the event, just to ensure that we have all the details correct. Because we never want to show up to an event unprepared, or, hey, we decided to move it, on pavement instead of grass, and oh man, we don't have the right setup equipment. We never want to do that. So we always want to go fully prepared with as much detail.
Yeah, please have your act together, right? It's
Yes.
because the event is important to the person having the event,
Very
right?
much so, yeah.
And when you guys come and you treat it the same way through the whole process, not just on the day, but you're showing that care and concern through the whole process, it means a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, we have. Oh, go on.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so we have on our wall inside our warehouse. The warehouse is the garage. Stapled laminated sheets and their guides for every event. So it's like a movie, and their pictures. Our guys come in, they get the checklist. It's their checklist. They're like, oh, okay, I need to get one of these. I need to get one of these. Like everything is always the same. We know everything is on there, and once they check their list, we know that at the event, they test all the equipment before the event. It's to that extent of high quality. So
Where did that come from?
that came from the franchise. The
So they have
franchisor.
their act together.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's very
yeah.
much so.
And I think too, as we came on board, there were things that they saw like, oh, we wouldn't have thought of doing it that way. So
Always
we've
learning.
perfected, the system,
The whole
and then it still
process.
continues to be perfected. There's changes that new franchises come on board, and we're like, oh, we didn't think about that either. So I think the fact that the franchisor and everybody on comes together and is on board and implements these changes for the better. It just works,
Well,
Any
and that's,
go ahead.
I feel like the sign of a good franchise is your people can come in and they have the systems to really be successful.
Oh, yeah.
But with the customer service piece, the way you were talking about that sounds a little bit more personal to you. Is that part of your personality?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, I really, the moment that I get on the phone call with the customer, we have like a connection, whether, it's a mom talking about, their child, and it's just immediately tells me, oh yeah, let me tell you what would work for this age range, or, or if it's a grandmother or a grandfather or a dad, oh, let me tell you what worked for this other party. So I think that's where I typically shine. I've, in the past, that's primarily the roles that I had, with customer service. So I think it just came together really well with Freedom Fun.
And it's reflected in your Google reviews, right?
Yes.
How many do you guys have right now?
I believe it's 118 last time I checked.
118.
So, yeah, and all 5 stars.
All 5
which
stars,
is
yeah.
really nice,
That's
huge. So
Well, whose fault is that? Is it
Yeah,
yours?
it's
Is that
definitely
your
Elaine.
No, it's Elaine,
That's
right?
all her fault.
Yeah, I see you looking
yeah.
at her like, yeah, it's all 5 star.
Yeah, no, it's all because of her. Yeah, she's
and,
very sweet. She's very sweet.
we're going to have customers that, sometimes something didn't pan out that way. We're not, perfect. So, but I do go out of my way to make it right, whether it's, a customer didn't feel that this was, they didn't have enough servings here, or they didn't do this or that. I really go out of my way to just say, hey, let's make this right. Let's do this, or let me give you, let's do a discount this time, or, something to make sure
we just
that
had
customer.
that recently happened where it was a movie, and the guys that, I guess they forgot some items or something like that, and the movie didn't go too well. Well, Elaine went over and above and contacted the customer like the very next day, the next business day, and just saying, hey, listen, I know it didn't go well. We're going to give you a free movie of your choosing at a future date, and we want to show you exactly what we do. That's not our normal way of doing business. So it's that over and above that Elaine always goes forward and makes sure that the customer is happy.
So speaking of movies, you got a story about a soldier coming home, right? So tell us about that.
Yes. So I remember getting that phone call, and this one, you never know what phone call you're going to get. It's always what conversation you're going to have when the call comes through. Well, this gentleman, I can hear him, and his voice is cracking, and I'm like, sir, are you okay? How can I help you? And he's like, I can't find anybody to do, something that I have envisioned for my son who's coming back from being deployed. So I was like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more, And he says, we have, we live on the island, which is in Corpus, and we have a channel of water. And we want all the neighborhood is, in on it. They've known my son. They've grown up with my son. And so we want to put on this big display of everybody, doing something in the backyard, because their backyard's the water, So they wanted to have a movie screen on a yard across. So that way when he came through, he'd be able to see, and just a slideshow of just, pictures of
Him growing up.
Yes, growing up, family, friends, things like that. So, a lot of times people don't want to travel that far, or they don't have the services out there. So we do. If a customer is willing to pay a travel fee, we'll go just about anywhere, to make an event happen. And so, he says, I'm willing to pay. It's, and then he just starts bawling. And of course, we offer military discounts too. So, of course, I offered that. And, I think at the end of that, I had to compose myself, because I was just in tears, And then Isaac and another, I think it was our son who actually did that event, and I don't think there was a dry eye in that, during
there was
that
sand
event.
in my eye.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a beach,
That's
right?
So yeah.
So it's just something really special, that we were able to deliver that and do it exactly how he had envisioned it. And so those are the types of things that just warms my heart,
Very rewarding, for sure.
Very.
What about a disaster story? You guys have any of those where everything went wrong?
The base was 17. So wind is not our friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do everything like 12 and under, 12 miles per hour and under, which doesn't sound too high, but when you get up to where it's like 15 to 17, we had it was a 45-foot screen, and we were on base. We had it strapped down to trucks, and we had it strapped down to generators. I had to go and help, so our guys were trying to do it, and this thing was just flopping around, flying around. You imagine watching a movie and all you see is the picture going like this
Comes
on the
like
front
a
of it.
giant sail.
On the
Yes.
giant sail, and so it was going up and down, up and down. I remember calling Elaine and saying, "Man, this is bad. This is horrible." And the guys were sitting on the base of the screen to make sure it doesn't go. And I remember it coming up again, and
They were
I dropped
sending
the
me
phone.
videos.
Yeah, I have a video of it somewhere. I had to find it, but I dropped the phone. And I start running, and then jumping, and then I go and jump on the leg of the screen to try to be a third body holding it down while it's strapped to trucks and a generator. So I mean, yeah, wind's not our friend.
So,
I think that was earlier on when we first started.
Yeah.
So since then, we've definitely upgraded the material or the
Material,
type
the
of
screen,
and we're like, we're never doing that again. And
and then we always have a rate. What do you call it? A rain check.
yes.
So
yes,
whenever
to
we look at winds
reschedule.
now ahead of
Yeah.
time, and if there's going to be high winds, we let the customer know and say, hey, we want a successful event, but we're not sure that we can do that if this wind is going to be high. So either do you have a place indoors? So sometimes we'll move it to an indoor gym, or do you want to reschedule? And then sometimes they're like, well, no, let's go ahead and try it. We got to do it. And then we let them know ahead of time this might not be successful.
Right.
So-
I
I
think
think the
that's key. Yeah.
yes, it is key. I think the more information they have up front, it just lessens the
and a backup
load.
plan would be good too,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's just like what NASA says: 2 is 1 and 1 is none. It's like, what's your backup plan? You should have a backup to the backup if you can afford it. But you have another story too about a fifth grade pool party that I think is a pretty good story.
So, so fifth grade, the end of the school year is coming, and this is a pool party that they do annually. So, every fifth grader looks forward to that. So, it just overnight weather changed, and it was supposed to be like 30% chance of rain, completely changed to like 90%. So, of course, for safety reasons, the school districts let us know we cannot, continue with the pool party. So got a phone call.
And this
from,
was tradition, right? I mean,
yes,
they do this every year.
Every year, yeah. And then they were running out of time, so they weren't able to reschedule that pool party. So, of course, those kids were bummed, and I just felt really bad. I had a fifth grader at the time, so I'm like, man, we got to fix something. So when we get the call, I was like, you know what? Let me see what we can do. So this was 7 a.m. and I usually do not answer the phone at that time. So, they answer the phone, they explain the story. I was like, okay, let me get with our main guy and, ask him like, hey, do you think we can make this happen? Let's get a gym full of activities for them. And by 9 o'clock, we were able to get multiple activities in there. So they had like a lot of interactive activities. It's soccer ball, hover ball. I mean, what else? Laser tag. I mean, they had a bunch of things in their gym. And so it was really nice to get a thank you card from, I didn't expect that, from the whole class. They signed it and they were like, just thank you so much for making our fifth grade party a success, even though we were looking forward to the pool party, but it was so fun that you all came together. And so we did get a review from the coach, and she was just very, very appreciative of that. So that's another story, that warms my heart as well. It's just,
And
we're able
had
to
you
save the
guys
day.
been booked to work the pool party, or was that out of the blue?
No, out of the blue.
No, out of the blue.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What about challenges in your entrepreneurial world, Isaac? What's like a challenge you guys struggle with that you guys are trying to work through, or maybe that you overcome that was pretty? Because I understand what that life is like, right? And we get overwhelmed sometimes with everything, especially with multiple businesses.
Yeah.
We can overwhelm our spouse. We can overwhelm our kid. Even my cat, I think, gets overwhelmed at some point.
Yes,
right?
our dogs are
Our
right.
dogs, yeah.
The dogs are even more sensitive to stress,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So what kind of challenges have you faced recently that are like, you know what? But they kind of push you to that next level. It's always good, right?
Yeah. I would say, the way that, and just, technically speaking, it was like I used Echo and leveraged Echo. Echo is my web design company. I used Echo to help purchase freedom. And then now that freedom, so the biggest struggle or challenges are like, hey, when a first business gets off the ground, what are you, about a year or two in, maybe even more before you even like
money
turn
suck. Yeah.
Yeah. So even more so during COVID, because freedom started during COVID. So here I am floating several things and home, and I don't advise it. It was bad. During COVID time, it was one of those things where we were going to throw in the towel and just say this is it, and we finally had an event kick up, and then now that Freedom's doing well, we're kind of in that same position of floating the laundromat that's in Corpus. So that's part of the challenge. It's kind of like, oh, okay, I got lease, I got power, I got water, I got personnel, I got machines down. Okay, we need so it's one of those things where it's a bit of a stretch. And all, just being transparent, until it does what Freedom does and picks up and starts paying its own bills.
What's the goal here? Are you guys looking for multiple streams of income? Are you just bored? I mean, why do you keep launching businesses?
It would never bored, never bored. I got a call. Sorry. Side story. I got a call from a lady, a 70-year-old lady in Kingsville, asking me who manages our laundromat in Corpus. And I go, oh, well, that's my dad. And she goes, oh, I'm looking for somebody to fix my machines in Kingsville. She goes, I'm actually selling it, and I'm selling the building with it. I go like this to Elaine, and she's like, you better hang up that phone right now. It was what I
gotta go.
Yeah. Because it does get addicting. But the biggest thing is streams of income. I love Freedom Fund, great business. Pandemic proof. I mean, fun is the first thing to go.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing Echo. Echo's always been somewhat stable. It's always kind of done a line. Yeah, it goes down, but then it kind of comes up and it stays pretty level. During COVID, people needed digital stuff, so I did fairly well. Mm-hmm. And so I was just looking for a second stream of income. Freedom was it. But then we found out, during the pandemic, everybody's no fun. If there's a recession, no, we're going to cut out fun first. We got to pay our essentials. So, it is seasonal. Right now, we're probably finding out, too, that the heat has something to do with it because this is the first time it's been this hot this early, and it's affecting us.
Need more water in your events, right?
Yeah. So we do have some of those now.
Great, yeah.
And because of that, in this, I was like, well, maybe I need to find another thing that, my way of looking at it is that businesses do this. And then if I have another one doing this, that hopefully I'll catching up when another's down. So that's kind of like a simple way that I think about it.
Well, and people always need laundromats.
People always need laundromats. So laundromats.
It's all about location, though.
Yep.
Yes.
So I don't think I don't see on the horizon that I'm buying anymore. I'm going to stick with what I got and try to make these all as successful as they can be. But the idea is like, the laundromat, I'm getting somebody to run it. And the Freedom Fund, we both run it, but she primarily runs it. Echo, I run it. And the digital displays, I'm doing it with my son, who does photography and videography, as kind of like a second business for him, though it's taking up a lot of my time right now. So essentially, it's going to be kind of like that, hey, and I'm going to kind of pull back from it and let him kind of run things once I help him get it off the ground. So
and you're pretty diversified, it seems like. I mean, laundromats, Freedom Fund, web development. With me, when I'm building out my company, my core is staffing. Yeah, I look at everything through a staffing lens, which social media can be staffing, right?
Yeah.
No matter podcast, this is all about staffing. So I have a core there. Do you guys have a core that you're trying to hone in on that really can help push everything else?
I would say there's core services for everything. I mean, because with all businesses, Elaine handles the social media for it. She's great at it. So for every business, I mean, we've gotten audiences just because of the way she posts and the way what she does. I obviously handle all the technical stuff for everything. Our
son also does the photography.
Oh yeah, he does the photography,
so
videography.
Anytime we need a video, I mean, he did a fabulous one for our laundromat. For the grand opening.
Yeah.
Pictures. So we have that. I remember being in the laundromat, and of course, you get bombarded with a lot of marketing agencies. Like, hey, we had a walk-in when we were there, and she's like, "Oh, well, who does your videography?" I'm like, "Oh, our son." Well, who does your social media? Oh, well, I do. Well, who does all the the website? Or my husband does. So she's like, "Oh, you all kind of have it all figured out." So I think in that regards, that's
I would say the majority of it's media related.
Yes.
As opposed, I mean, even the laundromat isn't. We're running it like it is. The whole customer service that Elaine does with Freedom, that's kind of spilling over into the laundromat. So our laundromat, we have tables set out. We have game boards set up for Saturdays. We have free refreshments and coffee.
That's something I wouldn't have thought of.
Yeah.
Is bringing the fun into a laundromat. That should be. I get 25 cents.
We had a lady come in and we get these stories a lot. We have been getting them a lot lately. Sorry, the lady came in and she says, she goes, I really like this laundromat, and to me, it's like, it's like, God, what can I do better? Like, what can I? I'm always thinking that way, and she's like, it's our community. I was like, I love that. It's like,
Tuesday is senior wash day. So I'll be there for that. It's a new thing. Some Medicare representative is going to set up a table, buy soap for elderly, and they're going to come in and wash. So it's kind of like it's almost community driven space. We're trying to make it a little bit different than just your normal boring.
Right.
laundromat.
Why couldn't you franchise that out? I mean, just start buying up
awesome.
laundromats and convert them to a fun
Whoa.
laundromat.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. I feel like once you get into the business space, you got to be real wary of that shiny object syndrome, because the opportunity, once you hustle and you get a business off the ground, you've now proved that you can do it. You know the potential in it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you start seeing the world through a different lens than you did when you even started the business. It's such a vast difference between year 0 of a business and year 2, and all of a sudden it's like the world opens up.
It just does something to you mentally, like, oh wow, I was able to accomplish that. Okay, and I'll be real honest. When I took over Freedom, and Isaac kind of gave me a little more to do, and he kind of had to step aside, and he wasn't always available for these meetings, with Austin location. So I'm like, oh, well, here I go.
This is her first time meeting.
Okay,
the powers that be.
So it was very difficult for me. And my health took a toll, just full transparency. It really did. I was so stressed, because when I learn something and I do it for a while, I get really good at it. I'm comfortable with it. This was so new, and there was so much coming at me at the same time, and balancing the kids and home life, my husband, and it was a lot. So, just coming off of that, making sure that, I had to take a step back and like really, okay, let me take care of myself, because I'm pretty important to my family,
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So once I started doing that, realizing, okay, and then able to slowly, reintroduce tasks for Freedom Fund, it became a little normal for me,
So I think that's so valuable to hear, because everybody, I feel from the outside, they look at these business owners and they're like, wow,
Oh my goodness.
I feel like the general thought process of not entrepreneurs is they just have something. It just worked for them. It just all happened to them. They're just walking the light, and very, very, very rarely does that. They say an overnight success is 10 years in the making.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you could talk to somebody that's in that same position, they're so uncomfortable. They're taking on a lot of new stuff. They're feeling overwhelmed. What would you give advice to Pastoline about?
I actually did have to talk to another potential franchise that was thinking of getting into the business. And, I just made sure to let her know, like, hey, you same family unit, stay-at-home mom. And, she was working at the time. And, just shared with her, like, there's going to be times where you're going to have to take a break. You cannot do it. I remember at the beginning with Freedom, I would wake up and I would be sitting at my computer, and it would be nighttime, and I'm like, I haven't even tended to my kids or anything, So I felt, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. I can't continue to do it this way. So as long as I know a lot of people will say, you have to balance everything, but in reality, it's never going to all be balanced. It never is. Yeah. Something is going to give, and you have to expect that something's going to give. You just have to know how to pick those pieces up and give that part attention, like later on, like figure that part out. It's not easy, but, if you continue to work hard and making sure that you're paying attention to the things that matter the most to you, your family,
Yeah.
I think it comes together,
I think last night was a testament of that, because My son, he's leaving to Mathis, so he's already there. He's doing photography and video for a camp, so he got hired by them. So he drove down there. I'm headed to Corpus, so Elaine's going to be home with the other 3 kiddos by themselves. We got a 17-year-old and a 20-year-old.
20-year-old, yeah.
17, 12, and 8. So last night I was the one I was just exhausted, tired, and my daughter, 12-year-old daughter, comes up and says, "Oh, we said we were going to play board games," and finally everybody's home because my boys were gone all weekend for a 48-hour film festival thing competition, and I didn't want to play games last night. I was like, no, there's no way. So I forced myself because it was about them. And yeah, I started off with the grumpy. I was the grumpy guy. But afterwards, everybody was laughing. It was just good to just have that moment and know that you have to force yourself to the family moments, even though you're doing all of this stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming at times, but yeah, those boundaries are super important.
Yes.
When I set my path on what I was going to be doing, I kept that in mind as far as working my way out of positions within the company. Isaac kind of was able to do that. He's worked himself out of Freedom Fund, right?
Yeah.
But for those that are in it, can you see that path of working your way out of it? And it's something that you talk about, plan to work yourself out of it so that you can keep your sanity.
Right. Yeah. And learning to delegate and just learning to stay back. I think it was really difficult when, I know that I needed the help when we got our admin. And then there's times where I want to meddle in there and I'm like, no, she's got it, So I think learning to let go and learning to trust is, that's a big one.
It's a big part of the reason I have a job. So
we're at time. So guys, if they want to get in touch with you, Elaine, how do they do that?
Yeah, so our telephone number is 210-890-4386. You can also visit our website, freedomfundusa.com. We also have our Google page, which is Freedom Fund San Antonio. So as long as you have a San Antonio address, you'll be able to see all our happy reviews.
All right, as we wrap up the show, quick reminder to check out our latest podcast or catch video versions of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. That's going to be it for us for this show. Guys, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Great job, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate
All right.
that.
We'll see you on the next one.
All right. You have a good one.